Hi folks. Um, in this video I want to talk about how America needs to wake up to certain things about how our economy should work and how global economies work. I think the first issue that I want to address here is that there's a fundamental misconception that there are sort of these purely capitalist markets in the world, and that's not true. Even here in America, our agriculture and agricultural industries heavily subsidized, and so government does make a lot of interventions in the agricultural industry, for example. And so this notion that we can have an economy where government does not interfere at all, I don't think it's true. If you look at China and its growth, if you look at um, how it's sustained that growth, you can see that China has very tough disclosure laws in terms of how companies, corporations releasing their information to the investors that investors need. They cannot hide things, when they release their information. So, they're very strict with those laws, and to say that China does not, the government does not interfere in their economy is wrong. Uh, there are very strict rules now governing for the last 10 years, from what I've been reading regarding these disclosure laws, and so. Um, the same with other countries like India. Uh, the government interferes in those places. It is a capitalist economy, but the government at times does need to intervene. And so this notion that if we let just, that there is this sort of ideal purely capitalist economy, it does not exist. As I mentioned, even here in the United States, we'd like to protect our farmers because we understand food security to be a national security issue. So the government does heavily subsidize the agricultural industry, and I think that's a good idea. Um, and so, first of all, we need to sort of throw away the idea that there are these purely capitalist economies. They don't exist. Uh, every country in the world just about has to make it, does make interventions in the economy. And I talked about China as an example and how it's sustaining that growth, and because they don't want bad companies out, they only want the best companies operating in their country. If they're not truthfully disclosing uh, their their financial information, um, they don't want those companies there. They only want honest companies, well-run companies. We could have averted disasters like Enron if we and other disasters if we had such disclosure laws. And so they've done a good job with that, regulating that. So, as I said, first of all, we need to sort of wake up to this and say, there are no sort of purely capitalist economies. They don't exist. And once we address that, we can sort of go on to say that what's the model that's going to work. Even one of our recent proponents of capitalism, President Bush, made this concession that capitalism is by far the most efficient, he said, but it's certainly not perfect. And we need to identify those areas where it's not perfect and we need to address them. And government does need to make interventions in those areas. So to say that, you know, there are purely capitalist economies out there, it's not true. And so we need to sort of wake up to this and realize that government has its role. Uh, I'm sorry if I offend my fiscal conservative friends out there, but it's just the truth. And we're not a purely capitalist economy either. Even during the time of President Bush, who increased subsidies for farmers, by the way, and we had to bail corporations out. We had to pump money in just to support capitalism, just to keep capitalism going. And I think we're going to have to put regulations in place so that capitalism does not collapse, so that we can keep capitalism going. And so that's my point here, is that there are no purely capitalist economies. We need not be on the extreme, on two of these extremes, where government controls everything, or the government makes no interventions. We need to strike a balance here. We believe in capitalism, but we need to find out areas where at times where it might collapse, and we need to do things ahead of time to not let it collapse and put regulations in place to support it. And so please send your comments and your feedback to this video. That's my this video has been about how to improve our economy. And so if you have comments regarding this, please send your comments and your feedback. And if you want to start up a discussion, post a response video, please do so.